What is going on? What is going on? Happy Monday morning to you, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Move podcast. This time it's the Coach's Corner version, our second installment of the Coach's Corner. Awesome guest lineup today. We got Coach Mike Isgro joining us, assistant football coach here at Westchester, South Jersey legend in his own right. Congratulations to all of our guys who got drafted this week, or all the guys who got drafted this week, signed contracts, whatever it might be. Best of luck to you. As always, I'm Coach Daley, joined by my right-hand man, Coach Move. Coach Move, I'm going to kick it over to you to give Coach Isgro the proper introduction. Tell us about our guest today, man.
So people that don't know personally, Coach Isgro is a very humble person, so he's going to be really bothered, and he wouldn't say all this himself. But all South Jersey championship winning quarterback in high school, goes on to be a two-sport athlete in college, takes over right away, becomes an All-American quarterback, plays baseball all 4 years also, incredible balance. The next best thing when you're done playing is to start coaching. Coach Isgro comes back home, joins up at Cedar Creek with Coach Watson. He becomes a head baseball coach, offensive coordinator, helps that program win their first championships. And then, Coach, you make the shift back to your alma mater. You go to Del Val, work your way up, help them continue to have a dominant run on the East Coast, one of the best programs in the country. You guys make a ton of playoff runs and conference championships. Then you go on and you become the head coach there and now have an opportunity to move up the ranks and find yourself at perennial traditional power Westchester, the PSAC conference. Coach, thank you very much for joining us. An Atlantic County native, so somebody that I have a ton of love for. Always thought you were a great player. As you know, I've said that to you before, but welcome, number one. And number two, that's a crazy journey. What of that kind of sticks out, do you think, that has impacted your stance right now as a coach at the D2 level? Which part of that do you think was the most formative?
Yeah, I mean, appreciate you guys, having me on, and, this whole thing, as I've been following you guys, I think it's great for South Jersey and all that as well.
Thank you.
I think, for me, that journey has been different steps along the way, different paths, that, maybe it wasn't going to be that right away, but then it took me to that spot. It's just about, obviously getting an opportunity out of college to go coach at a high school back home. Was fortunate to be able to coach under Coach Watson, who obviously coached me in high school. So great relationship there, to be on his staff, learn so much from him. And then, through those years being there and just enjoying the coaching part of it, loving that side of it that much. And then Coach Greco, reaching out, another guy who's coached me, wanted me to go back up to Del Val, and ended up finding myself back there. And then, everything just kind of full circle, ended up back with Coach Greco again. So didn't know if it wasn't planned that way. Just kind of how it all how it all happened. I thought, if you would have, if I would have said, 15 years ago, I would have been, back in South Jersey and coaching, in that area, whether it was at my, at Absegami or Cedar Creek still, I'd probably say I'd probably still be there. But, just a different path, different journey, just kind of has led me, to this level and to, where I'm at now. And, thankful, obviously, and appreciative of all the people that have helped me get to the point where I'm at, now, and have this opportunity to now, like you said, take a jump to another place, different challenge, different setting. But it's been great for, last 2-3 months, being back there with obviously Coach, obviously a great relationship. That transition has been smooth. Figuring everything out along the way it's been good too.
Sure. So Coach, you had two pretty big jumps, right? So about 10 years ago, you were coaching high school, and all of a sudden you find yourself as a head coach of one of the premier programs in small college football, right? Now, we talked about this past week, Coach Daley and I have done similar different changes, certainly not to this degree, but when you started to find the opportunity and realize, hey, I can go back to Del Val and become a coach and do this full-time for a living, were you torn at all? Were you unsure of what to do? Was it an immediate excitement? Can you kind of take us through that process of what you were feeling?
Yeah, obviously, it was definitely a change, and any change could be difficult. But, I felt like that was the right move to make that jump. And obviously it makes you a little bit more comfortable. You're at a place where you know a lot of the stuff You went there, you spent 4 years, at that institution, and then being able to be alongside coach where you're comfortable coaching with him. Obviously, in the coaching world, it's about relationships, and the connections is what's kind of brings you along. And then, just to have that opportunity to be a head coach, it was obviously a blessing to do it there. And then, have this other opportunity that's come up and come about, fortunate for that. And it's never been about, hey, I didn't set into it to go be a head coach. I just enjoyed coaching.
Right.
I enjoy being around the game, hopefully making an impact on, the guys from a athletic standpoint, but from a academic standpoint, and just as a life standpoint as well. Just being there for them, not just a coach, but somebody they could call or somebody they could look to. I think that for me, it's never been about a title or what I do position wise. I'm a football coach at the end of the day, and whatever I could do, But the jump has been good. It's been fun. Obviously upset leaving a place that's meant a lot to me, and
sure.
those guys there, felt for them. But there's never good timing for any of that through
Sure.
a change. So I know they'll be good. They're in great hands. Obviously, from a program standpoint, and the guys that are there, it's a very talented group still there. So looking forward to seeing what they do, moving forward as well.
For sure. Coach, on this show, we talk a lot about recruiting and, the ability to get recruited at that level. And, after working with you for a couple of years, you were extremely, extremely good recruiter. In your short time at Westchester so far, can you just talk a little bit about some of the differences that you noticed so far, recruiting players at the Division III level versus recruiting players at the Division II level? Do you see a big difference, or when there's money involved, does your mindset have to change a little bit too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, always since I've been here, I've said, everybody's like, oh, it's probably way easier to recruit there. You have this, it's Division II, it's that. And I think, a little bit of the opposite, from a standpoint of, there's a roster limit. You only have so much money.
Coach, what is your roster limit?
It's about 125.
Okay.
Usually we'll probably, I think, each, for each school, each institution, there's a different limit. For us, we'll probably be at 110. From a roster size, maybe 115 from that standpoint. But yeah, no, it's just, it's crazy. And then you got the guys that are going to redshirt as well, right. that have that. And obviously you guys know game of injuries and things like that. Hopefully you never get them, but that happens as well. But I just think the difference from a standpoint of, being able to juggle that, being able to juggle the money and how much you could allot. Every institution is different, and how much you could give to certain guys, or and being able to utilize it in the right way. Whereas, at Del Valle, we're probably bringing in, 40 to 45 guys, depending on the year, maybe less, maybe more. Whereas here, we're bringing in 15, 20 guys at a max. And it's, I say at Del Valle, you could bring in 40. Or at a Division III level, you could bring in 40, 45 guys. And if you guess perfect on 15 of those 45 guys, you're going to be okay. The guys that stick, or the guys that are going to elevate the program and things like that. And obviously, you're hoping every guy that you bring in is going to do that. To where now it's, you're bringing in 15, 20 guys. You can't swing and miss.
Right? You can't miss.
You got to make sure you're getting the right guys that are going to fit what you're trying to do, and fit the culture, and fit the program, and guys that really love football and that are passionate about it.
That's a great point. And real quick, I know Coach Moo's got some stuff for you too, but one question I want to kind of piggyback off of that from, just talking to the perspective of South Jersey recruits that are, looking at these Division III schools. And you mentioned some of these schools are bringing in 40, 50 guys. Like, how many of these guys are these schools bringing in that they're anticipating that actually might help them at some point? And how many guys are they typically bringing in just to, just to have on the roster? I don't want to be gloom and, doom here, but is that the case at some places?
Yeah, I mean, I think, could be at some places, obviously being at Del Valle we weren't going to cut anybody as long as you were doing everything the right way. And that started with Coach Clem, and then, kind of trickled down to Coach Greco. It's an opportunity to play. We didn't have a roster limit. So we try to bring in guys that can come in and compete. And sometimes you're looking at evaluating somebody and you have him rated out this, and, he gets there and he's one of the best guys, and you didn't evaluate it the right way. Or it's a relationship that you might have with that high school coach that, speaks highly of the guy, get an opportunity. So, you have some of that, but it's never it's everywhere I've been. It's, if you're on the team, you're going to be treated the same as the best player on the team. And, moving forward, whether you're a look squad guy or special teams or first group, second group, it's an opportunity to compete. It's about having more guys that could raise the level of other guys, especially at practice, you got 20, 30 guys, and you bring in 40 and maybe all 40 are going to be standouts for you. So there's been years that we've had, graduating, 25, 30 guys, and 22 of them are starters or in the mix doing something. Right. And then there's been years that you have, 20 of those guys. And then sometimes guys, decide they don't want to continue to play, football, at that level and just want to enjoy school and get an education. And that's okay too. Just to focus on that side of it. But not sure if that really.
No, it did. It was really awesome. Good, actually. Yeah. Like I said, I was trying to navigate around that without getting too dark there.
No, absolutely. I mean, everybody's, you guys know how it is. You've been a part. Everybody's got a role. Sure. It's just like, anything you do at work in an office or, everybody's got a role, and it's about being a star at your role. And that's kind of what I talked about when it came for me to be a head coach, be a coordinator, be, this. I know my worth. I know my role, and just go try to be the best at that spot for the team and for the guys.
Yep.
You guys would be amazed at how many players I came in with. I don't think you would believe it. Coach, I got a question.
Probably believe it.
I got a question about a couple things, and you kind of alluded to it. So I want to ask first on being on the other side. So being a high school head coach, when you came through into our schools, I think what you did well, one of the things you did well is you came across very genuine and honest. And a lot of people in recruiting are not like that. So when you're looking at right now, Coach and I have talked about this. You look at some of the numbers, less than 1% of high school football players are going Division I right now, right? We think it's harder to get recruited today than it maybe has ever been. And things that obviously you discussed about before we started about with immediately eligible transfer portals, the log jam from the +1 class of COVID guys and extra year guys. What are some tips that you might give, if I'm just a high school coach, Coach Daley's a high school player, we're trying to get recruited, or specifically your level, right? Because you guys play great ball, great conference, but it's the Division II level. Like it's a very hard to get recruited to it, but you guys have made a huge push into South Jersey, I feel, and I'm just really interested to hear. So if you're advising, what are some things that we could do to help ourselves get recruited as a player?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, putting together the tape, I think that's a huge plus. If anybody runs the recruiting services, are probably not going to help them right now. I think they're a waste of money.
You say that again? No,
they are a waste of money. And I, just being honest with it, I think it's not what. As a college coach, I walk into your building. I know who I want to talk to. I know who I'm looking for. And then obviously, some guy might slip through the cracks, or he didn't put together a huddle tape. He didn't put film together, things like that. So I would, always say, have your tape, have it updated, and utilize the first minute or two of that tape. Because if not, you try to watch all these guys, and you know how it is. I'm going to probably watch the first minute of it. Don't put the kick return, punt return in the middle of it. That's an explosive play. That needs to be first. And I've always messed with guys when I go into the building and talk to them. Like, you're lucky I watched a couple extra snaps.
Move that up.
Move that up a little bit. No, I think we should know our stuff before we go in there. We're going to sit down here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll hit the road, and we'll have a list of guys that we want to talk to. I think the prospect camps are very beneficial. Yes, you go out, you could spend $250, $300 on these, recruiting services. Well, you could save that money and go spend it and go to a 1-day camp where they're going to be able to get their eyes on you. They're going to see you run. They're going to see you move. We want to see you in person.
Coach, can I jump in here with that for you guys specifically?
Yep.
Do you think it's best served to come to a camp that you're running, or do you prefer seeing them at we'll use Rutgers because it's regional, right? Or Penn State because it's regional. You like them on campus specifically to have the best chance to be recruited by you guys?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously having them on campus is great because they get the benefit of seeing the campus, seeing what it's like, seeing that, but we'll be out at other camps as well. Obviously when we get in, we'll talk to guys. Hey, are you going to any camps? Hey, we'll have, this coach will be there or myself will be there. We try to jump around, get to as many of those as we can, or just the actual camps that the high school coaches have been running now, which have been great, to be out there and get a workout. I do wish that they would be able to collaborate and come together and have 3 schools at one spot. Where, there was a time last year I was at 4 different schools on one night. So it's, being able to do that.
You can't make money that way, Coach. That's the
well, a lot of the high schools have been doing them, I guess, for free for the guys, for their players. And then, us coaches trying to get out there and do it. But I don't think, obviously for us and our program, we would like you to be at ours, but if you're not, we'll be at others out there because, I think they're the most beneficial to be able to, if you're at a Westchester or if you're at a Villanova or you're at a Monmouth, being able to see you at those, see how you move, see how you work, see how you are in between drills, everything. That's, that goes a long ways because like we talked about, bringing in 15 guys, we can't swing and miss. They got to be the right guys that fit what we're trying to do.
Coach, I'm glad I was literally going to ask you what are camps that you like that aren't on your campus, and you picked the 2 that I think are some of the best in our region for how they not only run the camp like Villanova and Monmouth, but then also players don't understand this. They give all of that information to every college coach that's there. Yeah. So you're not just recruiting guys for your own program; you're getting guys recruited. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
stuff.
I think Villanova is probably one of my favorite camps that I'll send guys to, and I know they do a great job out there. And it's funny that you mentioned you always have a plan, Coach, when it comes to recruiting. Dude, we just talked about that on the show the other night. You never go somewhere and say, "Tell me who you got, man." It's always you gotta be prepared, and you always. And it's not just at Westchester, but that whole staff, man, even at Del Val, you guys always were prepared and you knew who you wanted to talk to and why you wanted to talk to them. So I think that speaks volumes to how you guys are as coaches. Coach Move, what else you got, man?
Yeah, so Coach, you're given great information here about even where you can dedicate your family resources, and instead of paying for a particular service, you can be paying for camps or, what is something that you've seen? You were a great player yourself. You coached at great high school programs that sent players to all levels of college football. Some guys made it to the NFL. You've been a head coach at an elite program, and now you're at Westchester as well as a position coach, pass game coordinator. What's something that you would suggest that when you see them come in through this process, families don't understand that you wish they had a better feel for?
It's not the high school coaches' faults. We are going to, and that's what you got. No,
I'm clipping that. I'm clipping that up. By the way,
it could be my fault.
You know what? I think the high school coaches do a phenomenal job of promoting their guys and getting them out. I think for us, it's just being able to evaluate the tape, going through that, and then plugging everything together. And I think it's really goes back to just being at those camps and being able to work and being able to showcase yourself there to get as many reps. Sometimes obviously being at a Rutgers camp, there's going to be a ton of people there, and that's why I threw out the Villanova and the Monmouth because they're not there's not 1,000 kids
right.
guys there working out. I think it's important, obviously, going into your senior year. I think sophomore year. Junior year, going to those showcases throughout the summertime to be at those. Maybe it's whatever one summer you're going into your sophomore year, you're going to a couple of these, maybe one or two, just to get a feel for how they go.
Yep.
And then you're going into your junior year and you're going to maybe 3-4 of these camps. But really, get it to where you want to be too as a college student. You want to stay in New Jersey, or you're a PA guy. You want to go to out to South Carolina or North Carolina, to those schools. Then maybe you should go visit and do a one-day camp at one of those locations too. It gives you an idea of what you're doing, and you're getting on their radar as well. So it's kind of having a plan of like, hey, here's a list of my top 5 dream schools, and then here's a list of my top 5, whether that's Division II or Division III schools. And then, hey, do they have camps? I know a lot of for us, Del Valle, we never ran a prospect camp. We'd always be out at everybody else's. Because I always felt like that guy wanted to. At that point in time, he didn't want to be at Del Valle, or he didn't want to be at the Division III school. Which I was that guy too. I thought you were going to play at Alabama, at Georgia, and it just doesn't work that way. So but having a spot like, hey, all right, I want to stay local. All right, well, let me go to the Villanova one day, or the Duff State. You can get into Townsend and Monmouth and those, and then maybe get a feel for a Rutgers one. But I think you could get overlooked too at a bigger one as well. But obviously, all good stuff to be at and be able to showcase yourself. And always the other thing with the recruiting is have a transcript on your phone. Nowadays, everybody could accept that transcript through text message, and if you have it on your phone, you could email it right from there. You shouldn't have to go to the guidance counselor to get this. And I know every school is different, but that'd be my one advice to all the guys every time I went in to talk to them. Get your transcript, take a picture of it, and put it on your phone.
Coach, that kind of leads me into my next question too. And you mentioned maybe there's a reason why that transcript isn't very easily accessible, but with the way high school football is now, it's not just New Jersey, it's every state, Pennsylvania, with transferring, whatever it might be. Are there red flags on your radar when you're recruiting a kid? It's like, hey, something doesn't sit right with me about this kid that you might maybe shy away from, or you're not going to maybe actively pursue somebody?
Yeah, yes and no. Obviously, we're going to try to do our research on it. Why, if he's jumped around to different places, or why is the academics not where it needs to be? Obviously, that's the relationships going back to the coaches, being able to lean on them and talk to different people in the area and see. And then, when I go into the school 5 minutes down the road that school might have played, hey, how was this guy? And it's having those conversations, and it's trying to get as much information about a guy and why isn't he taken, or what is going on? Is it an academic thing, or is it something else? But I think every situation is different. Every guy's different. You guys know how it is. Everybody, grades could be this for this reason. Could be this. Grades could be this for that reason.
Sure.
Could have fell through because of this reason. Every situation you try to take with a new outlook to it. What is it really going on? And try to gather as much information as you can.
It's funny you mentioned that about like college coaches coming in and asking about, hey, is there anybody that you know about? Dude, and I was always so bad at that. Like I didn't know names, I didn't know players and stuff. I just remember like certain guys. But now, hey, doing this podcast, and then we're doing all the stuff that we're doing with South Jersey, I think I'll be a little bit better at being able to point you guys in the right direction here, and at least Gloucester County to tell you where to go. So.
I'm usually bad with names too. I'm usually, hey, how about number 6?
Exactly.
That's all right, man. If you're good enough, we all know who we're talking about. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
No, it's good stuff. Coach, I want to ask you too about you talk about talented players and why guys kind of tend to fall through the cracks and stuff like that, or not. But obviously you played with, and then you coached some incredible players, right? Conference players of the year, All-Americans, guys that have played professionally. How many of the best players that you saw over your tenure as a player and a coach at Del Valle now at Westchester, do you think could play? Like, how many of the best players that you saw at the Division III level could play on the rosters at where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some guys that could definitely play at a higher level. That might be Division III, whether that's at Del Valle or guys that we faced. going through it, or maybe even a guy that I've played with. There was guys that, you probably played with that probably could have played higher up. Even, at Daley, you had Rasheed Bailey, who played in the NFL and played, 7 years in the CFL. That's definitely a guy. I think it's, there's definitely some guys for sure. And that's no shade on any guy at the level that we're at. I'm not saying they'd come in and start or what they would be. Obviously, you go into those situations, you compete, and, the best guy would play. I think sometimes it's, when you sit back and you watch the Division III National Championship game, that's a really good football. And there's there's some really big guys in the trenches too. And I think sometimes, that's what it is that separates some of the Wisconsins or the North Centrals, and you flip them on and you watch them. I mean, it's the guys in the box that really are just different. They're just big. Whereas some Division IIIs, you look at the PA and the New Jersey, and how many schools are just kind of surrounding this area and what's there. So the big guys kind of get thinned out a little bit. I think from an athletic standpoint, the skill positions, a lot of guys could compete, whether it was going up to Division II or going all the way up to 1AA and maybe even higher than that in certain cases. So I do think some guys that I've coached probably could have, but I also think too it's if you're good enough, they're going to find you. There's guys that you played with, that have gone on to be successful. Playing after college. There's guys that I've played with and guys that I've had the opportunity to coach that have got that chance. So it just it's the old saying, be a star in where you're at. And sometimes it's not, going up could put you in a bad situation. And I think sometimes being in, at a higher level, you got to be at the right place at the right time too and get seen. Obviously, you got to be very talented, but I think some luck goes along with it too.
It's funny you mentioned the Division III national title game, because I make it a point every year that national title game is on to tell my guys, like, yo, you think you're not playing D3, or you think you're above D3, watch this game and watch how much talent is on that field, at that level, and it kind of puts things into perspective for sure, man. But
I mean, it's look at this year, Christopher Newport, their quarterback is up at Penn State right now. It is a different world right now with the college football and the landscape of it. But it is what it is. I mean, you could always. This is I had a coach, Coach Coleman, one of the best coaches I've ever played for. He'd always say, "Look, this is the deck of cards you were dealt, man, and this is the hand you have, and how you're going to go play that hand." So whatever situation you're in, just go play it out. But it's definitely interesting to see some of that.
Coach, it's so funny. It's so funny you mentioned Coach Coleman, because a couple episodes ago I talked about Coach Coleman. Do you remember the night when we were down at the convention and it was me, you, and Coach Coleman watching a national title game, and I was preparing for an interview I had a head coaching interview a couple days later, and Coach Coleman and I didn't know him. I had never met him, but we just sat at that bar for at least an hour, and he was giving me just tip after tip on how to prepare for that interview. And I was telling Coach Move the other night that I learned so much from that conversation with him, and I still use that stuff to this day. So it's funny that you brought that up, man, because that was really
one of the best. I've got an opportunity to play for some really good coaches, but he's one of the best. I mean, one of the smartest guys, from a football standpoint, and just obviously as a person. But he was super intelligent. We'd be in weight room class, and he'd be drawing up plays and different things on napkins if he had it right there. Just a football guy. Still talk to him. He's the man.
Coach Move, that kind of takes us into some South Jersey flavor, right? Man. It leads us right into our final segment here with Coach Isgro. A half hour goes quick, but you want to talk about the last couple questions and pick Coach's brain a little bit?
Yeah, Coach, I'm really curious.
See if he remembers here. It's been a few years. So.
It's been quite a few.
Let's start with the easier one, right? So, Coach, we want to know, at your time when you were in Absegami, what were some of your favorite places to play?
There were some good ones. Obviously, having the opportunity to play the Friday night At home was always cool. Being at Absegami, the walk from the locker room was a little bit of a walk. That was pretty cool. From on the road, I always enjoyed Vineland High School. That was always good. The stadium set up there.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. Obviously, the Ocean City is one of the best with the Ferris wheel in the background. Obviously, that's still going. Hopefully, they keep that there. I know they bought that.
I think it's going to stay. It sounds. I don't know. Every time there's a town hall meeting, there's a fight going on, but it sounds like it's going to stay for a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's obviously one of the best places. Probably Ocean City. Vineland was always a cool setup. Obviously, being at home, being in front of your friends and the school, and that atmosphere is always exciting and fun as well.
Yeah. So, Coach, I love asking this to whether people that, around our age that coach, anybody in general, but who are some of the best players that you played against, whether they went on to have incredible success or just, man, that guy was an absolute killer and now he just runs his own construction business. You know what I mean? Like you might not have gone on to the NFL, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good amount of guys. What was it? We played. I was a sophomore. We played Washington Township. You have Ryan D'Imperio.
Yeah.
That cannon went off like every 5 seconds. That was a tough night.
I played against him too, man.
Yeah.
He hurt. He
that
hurt
was a playoff game. I think it was like the second round, maybe. That he was obviously he went on had a successful career, played in the NFL, I believe.
Yeah,
Coach. Every time that cannon goes off, I know it's coming, and it still catches me off guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
D'Imperio might have been one of the hardest hits I've ever taken in my life. So I'm with you on that one, Coach, for sure.
Yeah. Played against Cedric Jeffries. He's an EHT guy. He went on, played at Penn State.
Yeah.
He was talented, obviously. Played over at, we played St. Joe's. They had some guys. Jack Corcoran was there.
That's what I was going to ask if he was I know he was close to your year.
Yeah, Jack and I we grew up together. We wrestled for the same youth program. Obviously played against him. He went on.
So, Coach, he was a 3-sport college athlete, like Division I athlete, right?
I don't know if he didn't. I don't think he wrestled there.
I'm trying to think because I know he wrestled for a bit. Then he was playing, but then he fought some MMA too. What a bad dude, man!
Yeah,
what a bad dude.
He might have. Yeah. Obviously, I played with Ryan Goodman, who was an All-American wrestler, and he was older than me. I played growing up, Myron Roll. We're from the same area.
Coach, I got a great Myron Roll story for you, and you might have been playing on this, or maybe you were in 9th grade by this time. But former college teammate guy I coached with was talking about when he was in like 7th grade. You guys are playing, it's youth ball, winners in the playoffs, or goes to the playoffs, or moves on to the next round or something. And Myron Roll had a hurt ankle. He didn't play the entire game. Right, he comes in. It's like 4th and 2, game on the line. They throw him a toss. He starts to the right, breaks 3 tackles, reverses field, houses it for like 60 yards, walks off the field. You guys win and move on. His team lost.
Yeah,
that's funny. Man, he was awesome, and
talk about a surgeon.
And a student of the game, Rhodes Scholar, man.
So Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So there's plenty of guys. Matt Caesar played against him. There's a pretty, and the list could probably go on and on.
Sounds like there's a trend. It sounds like there's a trend down there by the shore of some really good players, man. But hey, we're gonna get this thing wrapped up. But one thing I want to close it out with, Coach. Just talk to us about where you're at now, Westchester. What's the outlook look like for the Golden Rams this year, man?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's one day at a time, getting ourselves better, putting ourselves in the right situation to compete and compete at a high level. Obviously we're chasing something. We're chasing excellence and chasing to be great every single day, and winning at the end of the day. That's the most important thing. But the guys have been great. It's a great group. Guys are really working their tail off. We got the spring game Friday night, so excited to see some guys step up. And it's a great place. The school itself really invested in all athletes, in all the sports teams, and the guys are working hard and excited for Friday night, and then excited to get going in the fall. To put something out there that's people are going to enjoy to see, and want to come see and want to come be a part of. And that's a testament to our guys and how they've been working over the last couple months now.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome, Coach. I love a Friday night spring ball game. Great schedule in there by Coach Duke. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guys, listen, without giving away too many production secrets, that game has already taken place, okay? It was this past Friday night. So this thing is airing on Monday. You guys look great, Coach. You guys are awesome, man. So, hey, that's Coach Isgro, great friend of mine. We appreciate him coming on to the show. South Jersey legend, assistant coach now at Westchester University, does it all, man. He's a great guy. Great resource to have. I appreciate you joining us tonight. Coach, Move, you got some final words for us, buddy?
Everybody have a great day. Let's find a way to win.
Find a way to win. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Daily Move podcast. Join us tomorrow night for our live show. We'll catch you then.